Speaker number 2, Ty Nichols. Ty Nichols, the salesman. The salesman, Ty Nichols.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests and judges. Have you ever met a salesman? I mean a real salesman that works on commission only, meaning if you don't sell, you don't eat. I love sales. I love sales because I am one. In 2006, I was the top salesman for the Mid-Atlantic region for Comcast, including New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware for 19 months in a row. However, when I was transferred to Washington, D.C., my record was brought to a screeching halt. Let me explain. I was used to working in upper Montgomery County with the pristine grass and limited traffic and easy parking. I was transferred to D.C., and my first day played out like a bad movie. I was stuck in traffic for an hour. I received a parking ticket. I even almost broke my hip getting out of my car because I stepped on an open bottle. I met my new manager for the first time. We sat in a meeting for just a few minutes. He then called a sales meeting. And it was at that point I realized that this was a commission-only position. I said, Rome, listen, I don't think this is going to work. I was in traffic for an hour. I got a parking ticket. I almost killed myself, and now you're telling me that this is commission only? I don't think this is going to work. Rome looked at me and smiled. And he had a funny way of talking. At times, he spoke normally, but at other times, he sang to you. And in this instance, he broke into song. He said, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think it's going to be all right. I looked at him baffled. Then he started to get the other salesmen involved. He said, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think it's going to be all right. It's all right. It's all right. I looked at him baffled. I said, okay, I'll go ahead. I'll see what it's about. He said, go on a call with P.T. Taylor. He's been a salesman for 40 years. Let me know how it goes. I said, okay. I rode with P.T. Taylor down 16th Street to a building called the Dorchester. And when we got to the building, we set up tables with cookies and juice and balloons, big screen TVs, and we set up a couple of laptops so that the customers could see the high-speed internet. As customers came home from a long day of work, they had some cookies, they had some juice, and we set them up with high-speed internet and digital cable. Now, Rome told me before I left, he said, you sell 1 unit, that's $50. If you sell 5 units one day, they're $100 a piece. If you sell 10 units in one day, they're $200 a piece. In 2 hours' time that we were in the Dorchester, I sold 17 units. And I remember at the end of that day, I said to myself, I think it's going to be all right. However, 3 weeks went by after that day at the Dorchester, and I didn't sell a thing. I was distraught. I was confused. I began to doubt myself. I wondered if I could do this job. I said, let me pull up my resume, because something's got to change. I said, before I take any brass action, let me give a P.T. Taylor. He might have some advice for me. Now, P.T. Taylor, for some reason, called me Sky Rome. Not Tyrone, but Sky Rome. And I said, P.T. Taylor, I don't know if this is going to work. What am I going to do? I haven't been sailing in 3 weeks. He said, calm down, Sky Rome. Let me tell you something. He said, for most people, sky's the limit. But for Sky Rome, the limit's the sky. If there's anyone who can hear my voice and you know what that means, please see me after our meeting, and I would love to get your insight on that. He also explained to me that being in sales, you must be persistent. You must overcome obstacles. You must be innovative and think about what the next man would not do. Furthermore, you're selling a product, but you're also selling yourself, and you've got to keep that in mind. I said, okay, PT Taylor, I hear you. Let me try something else. I went out with some technicians and had lunch to get their insight on the whole sales game. I come to find out there were some areas in D.C. with a great deal of unauthorized cable. I said, okay. 3 weeks gone by, I've been knocking on doors, I've been handing out flyers, I've been talking to property managers about hosting events, I've even been calling old customers who've left the company to see if they'll come back. But this time, instead of just knocking on your door, I'm going to knock on your door, but my technician is cutting off your unauthorized cable. And there's a big difference between someone trying to sell you cable and you've already got cable, and someone selling you cable and your TV's in snow and you were just watching the game. 50% of the time this worked, but there were some instances where I had to be a little more persistent. So I had to be innovative. I said, listen, I've heard that reason for not buying cable 100 times. If you can give me a new reason, something I've never heard of, I'll pay for your first month's cable, and I'll install it for free. Ladies and gentlemen, I respect salesmen and the craft of salesmanship because I know what it entails to be a great salesman. But the PT Taylor's advice doesn't just apply to me, it doesn't just apply to salesmen, but it applies to all of us. At times we must be bold, we must be innovative, we must think outside the box, and most importantly, you may not necessarily be selling a product, but you're always selling yourself. Thank you. Madam